hope everyone is doing well on this Tuesday morning. My kids are just back on day 2 of spring break, so you might be trying to get over that spring break hump and it's getting crazy, but we're so glad you're on the call today. Oops. My name is Shauna Stefanchik. I'm the president and founder, and today we were going to do a collaboration call, but I'm going to kind of combine two things with how do we really support and help retain teachers with how that pairs with the new 4-core book we have coming out, because all of you on the call are current clients or watching this are probably current clients. So I'm just going to review a little bit about what you have in place. I'm going to spend some time. We'd love to hear from you brainstorming. What are we still struggling with when it comes to teachers? And then I'm going to introduce this book that we have coming out, kind of our intention, and we'd love to hear your thoughts or other ideas about it. So I'm going to go ahead and show the slide really quickly. This is, I think, is a great, Val actually created this. Give you kudos since you're on the call here. But this nice graphic that really shows what we stand for. And one of my favorite things is that it's created by Missouri teachers for Missouri teachers, because that is one thing that's rare about us, that we're really trying to help you with that. And look at our number one bullet is teacher recruitment and retention. So I think sometimes people don't realize that's one of our main missions. We definitely want to improve achievement and prepare you systemically for all the things that come, but we really are passionate about retaining and recruiting really good teachers. And so one of the questions I wanted to talk to today about before we jump into the 4-core book is I bet many of you are dealing with a lot of turnover, alternatively certified. And so I wanted to dive a little bit into just talking as a client group, because I know you could learn from each other of what are some of the systemic barriers that are going against retention. And then I want to share with you what some of our proposed action steps and solutions are. But really on this next slide, I just wanted to talk about, so if you'd be ready to unmute or share some things in chat here. What do you think some of the retention barriers for teachers are? What do we think some of those barriers? So again, either throw it in chat or unmute.
I'm from Clark County. We're up here in the corner, of course, if you know us, northeast corner. We're right where Iowa, Illinois, Missouri all meet. So geographically speaking, we struggle because teachers can just cross the border and make a lot more money in either Iowa or Illinois. So we do struggle with that here, trying to compete with those salaries. So,
but that's so true, money and competition. And I think that's why a lot of schools are even toyed with like the 4-day work week, which I don't think we're a huge fan of, honestly, when it comes instructional, but that's sometimes why a lot of smaller districts have gone to that, right? Because we don't always have the funding to pay. It's a great point. Any other thoughts from people on the call?
So I'll share. My experience comes from the urban environment. I spent all of my 14 years in Kansas City. And the thing that I saw again and again was a lack of support. And so when teachers felt like they weren't doing it right or they weren't moving their students, it was a really hard barrier to keep, every morning wake up and do it again. And so support would be the important one to me.
Yeah. Well, and something that we don't typically deal, but I think I've seen huge shifts in, and again, I haven't been in the building post-pandemic, and I know it's even heightened, but discipline, right? And mental health of teachers and students. I know just in the 15 years that I was in the building, all the shifts I saw with student discipline are real and a real barrier. And I think, gosh, even when I came in, it's always been a thing. I felt very underprepared in that, and walking into an urban environment where somebody cussed and threw a chair on the first day. And I was like, I don't really know how to deal with that. Melissa, I saw you pop on. Do you have any thoughts?
Well, I missed the original question, so
well,
I was just taking it in a little bit.
No, well, because you're hummus sliced bread, Chillicothe. What do you think some of your retention barriers are when it comes for your district?
We've been so fortunate lately. We have 10 brand new teachers that actually graduated from our community. And
Oh, wow.
I feel like that speaks volumes for our district and the kids that graduate from our school system, if they want to come back and be a part of that. So that's been fascinating. I would say, and we've worked really, really hard the last couple of years to get our salary schedule up to par, especially for our Northwest Missouri region. Here's where we struggle. We have had several teachers, sorry about that, several teachers that are end of career who choose to move to Liberty or Park Hill or larger districts that do pay a little bit. And so keeping our mid-career and most experienced teachers longer, I think would be a goal for us.
Well, that's interesting that you pinpointed that dynamic too of the age. And, you know, it goes back to Olivia, pay is sometimes hard, and that's when Missouri is predominantly smaller rural districts, that becomes a real issue. And geographically, I mean, okay, I'm biased. I think you guys have a wonderful community and a great town. So, but when you're
People
small,
drive, like it's only an hour's drive. So
but it is, I mean, but geography is everything. It's still a quick jaunt over to Kansas City. It's a quick jaunt to get to Liberty. It's more accessible to those bigger things, which some of our rural towns, I mean, I'm from a rural town where you planned your trips because it's 45 minutes. There wasn't, you have a lot of amenities in Chillicothe that a lot of the rural town, you have a Walmart. We didn't even have one of those. I mean, those make that makes a difference. And trying to get people and definitely pay. So, but one of the things that you tripped on, I think, and I'm curious for anybody else on the call, is the grow your own. If that had anything to do with it, if you guys are involved in that initiative, because we hear about that program a lot. Or did that just kind of be was it a natural thing for kids in your community to want to come back?
I think it was natural. However, this year we did receive the grant, and something that we're encouraging are we're actually giving, I want to say stipends, but in the form of a scholarship to our CTE programs. So students who graduate with so many hours, hands-on hours with students will get a certain a dollar amount for doing their work above and beyond what the program is asking. So we're encouraging those students as well to participate back in our district. So we make sure they leave that program with a para certificate and a student teaching certificate, or not student teaching, but substitute teaching certificate, so that they can start exploring next steps in terms of education, the education industry for them. Many of them have applied for our summer school to be a para at our summer school program. That's super exciting.
That is real, but it's a win-win that
Yeah.
you're building your sub pool, but you're also helping them. Don't you think part of it too is this narrative of teaching is so hard? You've got to get them in there and let them experience that. And I mean, I know I got to do that when I was in high school, and I got to do it with an elementary teacher that I loved and adored.
Yeah.
I was sold.
Yeah, and we keep those courses in our elementary building. So they don't go to our technical center. They're kept in our elementary building so that they can have that constant connection with the elementary teachers.
I love that. You're combining your real world learning and things just right within your district.
Sure.
Those are great creative ideas. And money, man, who knows what's going to happen with money, everybody. We're just holding on to our seatbelts to see. And even with the legislation passing of upping teachers' salaries, that's not, it's, you know, mandated but not funded. And so now districts are still trying to keep up. And I think that's going to be an ever-present struggle. One of the things that Step Up that we're really dedicated to for our districts, though, is at least trying to help prepare your teachers when they do get in, of having what they need in that clarity. So here are some of the barriers that we have seen and heard from some of our other clients. And Melissa, your district's kind of tipping on this, is you're doing some pre-service training with your people. But sometimes people are coming in, even graduating college, lacking some of the training they need and the skills they need. And because we can't always find people, like Olivia was saying, we're tending to have a lot more alternatively certified who definitely don't even have the content knowledge. I've seen a lot of that in the high school levels, which concerns me when they're EOC tested courses and you've got an alternatively certified person in there. Of course, I had to put bullet 2 that I think it's a systemic barrier of the curriculum myth and misconception that people still don't know that there's this focus and that we're tested on standards. So I think we're constantly trying to clear that up. And so one of the things as clients that we've tried to do is come in and help your people see if you have a resource, how that connects to your standards. So we make that clarity for them. And then classroom management. So let's see here where I'm going with this. One of the when it comes to the instructional lens, here are things that we think need to be helped: instruction and classroom management. And of course, our company doesn't focus on that, but I think the more we can help, and I'm going to couch that also with mental health. The lack of our teacher retention is causing more alternatively certified. And we're getting a lot of new teachers in. And so it's that much more important to have systems in place so they know what to teach. And hopefully, if you're working with us and you're using some of our tools, it's also helped prepare them on the how to teach of what that mastery and proficiency looks like. And Jess, did I see something go through the chat there that I missed?
Yeah, Laura just let us know that they're participating in the Grow Your Own, and they have 3 students who have done that program and that are currently working with them, and then 1 more next year that just graduated from Mizzou. So it's been a really strong benefit for them.
I love that. And so they've already got that cultural connection. And now how do we help? And so part of this, guys, as clients, is I'm trying to remind you of the why we've done what we've done, and to keep making sure when we get new teachers in that we're prioritizing resources or standards over resources. We are not anti-resources. I came in not knowing how to teach kids how to read. And if I didn't have that Scholastic resource on my desk, I would have never learned how to teach to read, to teach kids to read, because I needed those specific lessons and ideas. But we have to continue to help teachers see the connection between those two. And that to remember, when we talk about a guaranteed and viable curriculum, that the guarantee in Missouri, our state legislative branch votes on that, is the state standards. That's how we guarantee that kids are ready K through 12. And the viability is that we have a plan of how we're actually going to teach those standards. So most all of you on this call have this document where we help look at their resources and look inside what Missouri priority or supporting standards are taught within that resource so they can pair those two. So I think that's just a big thing as we get new people in, and just reminding clients on the call the why behind we did these curriculum management tools. The next step is getting them to be usable, you know, in a daily life of how to unit plan them, but how to make sure that we're really teaching the standards to proficiency. So one of the things that we have done with you as clients that we hope will help, and one of the things to consider as you get new teachers coming in, is to make sure that we're putting those pacing guides and plans in front of them, and that they know that standards are our focus, that template is your guaranteed and viable curriculum that ties to your resource, and that we should constantly be making sure that our lessons and standards, our lessons and assignments are based around standards. And for those of you not on the call, to consider, if you haven't switched, which I know Chillicothe has, at least K through 5, consider switching to standards-based grading, because even when our district or our state is talking a lot about personalized competency-based learning, those personalized learning targets, you're going to have to pare back, and they're going to be around the standards of how we personalize learning. So that's just something to throw out there. If you're a district who has used our things but hasn't considered to make that switch to standards-based grading, that just allows and is a nice framework to help teachers remember that their focus should be on the standards. And to make sure when you're getting new resources to ask them for the standard correlation, and that you can evaluate those to make sure that they're really covering your standards.
Hey, Shauna, can I pause you for a second? I wanted to respond to, well, I don't know if I have an answer, but I wanted to bring Melissa's comment to light. She said that we are consistently struggling to fill special education positions. I think the belief with this positions is that it is the hardest, it is the hardest students, but that is untrue. How do we change that narrative? How do we find these teachers? So I said, I don't necessarily have an answer for you.
That's deep, but I would go, well, I mean, that is such a loaded question. I'd love to open it up if others have ideas. I know that I've even seen the state, which they've done with new teachers, is trying to make certification and provisional things to make that easier. I think you hit on some of it, that it's the narrative of people don't really know what it is or what it entails. And so if that's scary or we've heard bad press about it, they're not jumping into it. I need to read it. Oops. Let's talk on the call though. Any other thoughts about how we recruit more SPED teachers?
No one is applying for special education. No one.
Wow.
So we're like, that's an area of weakness when we're talking about retention. That's an area of weakness. And I don't know if I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, Pam said they're not, she's at the Northwest RPDC, so is very knowledgeable in this, and they're just not coming out of the colleges either. They only had 19 candidates this year, even graduating. So you're not even having this pool who's prepared.
Yeah.
And I do think the narrative of the paperwork of, you know, all of that can't help either.
But we're trying to move to a multi-tiered system of support where true flexible intervention is taking place. But we're going to lose some of those tier 3 systems or supports because we can't find anyone to fill the special education roles. So it's like, it's a no-win situation. We need to find people to fill those holes for us so that we can continue to do the great work that we're doing.
I think also part of our problem across the state is just lack of understanding and following the Missouri state guidelines for eligibility. We have an overabundance of kids that are qualified for special education that do not require special education. We're just putting them in there. And that's just, it goes back to not having good quality tier 1 instruction or systems in place to support our kids. Our teachers don't know how to support.
Well, Olivia, don't get me on that soapbox because I think you're so right. Our tier 1, especially post-COVID, I think we've seen a huge rise because people are like, oh, they've got all these gaps, let's put them into SPED. And so, Melissa, the one thing that's making me think is, as you hear Missouri keep talking about personalized competency-based learning, as our team's really been diving in, I think SPED teachers have been personalized learning since the beginning of time. And that's really what this new movement, and we would argue to say probably as a team that our elementary people are pretty strong about it too, because we're constantly flexible grouping, doing small grouping. And I want to say that just because I think, oh gosh, now we've all got to learn how to personalize learning. We've already been doing it. But I wonder in my mind to think about your problem is if we can't get those people, how much more important it is going to be to prepare our core teachers to know how to do that and have tools, because we're having to do it with all. I just think that our state's going to switch to that model, and we're all going to have to be in some rights like special education teachers without formal plans. And it comes back to that tier 1, like Olivia said. I don't know, I'm spouting.
It's okay. I asked the question in the midst of your presentation, but it just reminded me when we were talking about retention that that's an area of weakness for us.
Okay, Pam, you're so nerdy and I love it. Because these are the same things we're talking. She said differentiation through universal design of learning, because we're getting ready to do a series. It's all about the learning modalities. It is. And we're actually tossing around doing a cohort on universal design of learning, because everybody's going to have to learn how to do it. We're all dealing multiple levels of learning. So yeah, we just opened up a big can of worms of all the, but that's part of why I wanted to have this call. I mean, we had a lot more on here because I was hoping to hear from voices so you guys could share ideas, because they're real problems that everybody in Missouri is facing, and how do we deal it? So when it comes to standard clarity, I will say one thing: if you could find SPED tools, that's one, or SPED teachers, one of the things we're doing is coming up with a new SPED tool, just trying to help them systematize, because I do think that it's overwhelming and they haven't always had the vertical progressions and the clarity that we can provide to help that IEP writing and finding goals. It's a lot when they're supposed to know everybody's standards. But to really help new teachers, one of the things I wanted to make sure all of our clients knew about was this new 4-core book we're coming out with. So let me kind of walk through this. In our current books that you guys have, you know what we did is post-pandemic, the state came out with the priority standards. And so we had taken those and we made these full-blown proficiency scales over those, to really show teachers in depth, if these are the big things you have to master, what they look like, sound like. And then we put them for the differentiated learning in K-5 or 6-12 content books. We had a vertical progression, and then we focused on the priorities so teachers could walk up and down that continuum. So if you are on the call and you have those for your teachers, we would encourage you, if you haven't put those in the hands of your SPED teachers, that's one of the best ways we could suggest that original book is going to really help, because it helps them walk up and down a continuum, and we do a half-day training with it. But what we found for core teachers, I'm going to get to Olivia's tier 1 instruction, right? Because that is a huge issue too. What we found in those original books is a kindergarten teacher would go through and tag just all of their stuff in like 4 of these gigantic books. And we realized we don't have a one-stop place for a grade level teacher to just know, here's everything I need to master. And so what we did is we went beyond the priority standards and we started looking at the supporting standards, and we decided to make proficiency templates for those. So it's not the entire MAT tool. We looked at just the level 3.0. We also included the performance descriptors from DESE. Again, thinking about tier 1, how do we really help them have every document available to understand and describe what proficiency looks like? And then it still has those map EOC and anchor chart ideas. So the difference, look, this is a lot. This is what our current, if you have our current book, here's what our current proficiency scales do. Yeah, keep switching around on me. But this is a full-blown, what we would call a full-blown MAT tool. Proficiency scale, and for the supporting standards, I'm going to show you how we did a template. So the scale is really beefed up for the priorities. We're going to tell them 4.0. We're going to give them videos, examples. Again, for alternatively certified, so if you're a client on the call and you haven't been using this in new teacher training, this would be something to consider. If you have alternatively certified, these books are invaluably helpful to show an incoming teacher, here's the difference between a 3 and a 2, and here are videos you could even watch as a substitute or alternatively certified teacher to try to help you get to that rigor we're needing. We provide those anchor charts. We've got samples from the state when available. When they aren't available from the state, we've written those because many of your supporting standards don't have any item specs. So we've beefed those up. You're probably familiar with the proficiency scales. But what I wanted to show you for our supporting standards, this is what we did in the book. We took those, we went ahead and put the content limits. Again, for social science, you're already good, guys, because science, they prioritized everything. So you have a full-blown scale for everything. But in ELA and math, there were quite a few standards that just weren't in that original book. So we went ahead and we unwrapped those for you and gave your teachers sample questions and STEMs. Again, the State Department didn't provide those, so we beefed a lot of those up. And then in social studies, remember, those were the tools of inquiry. So you had all those supporting content standards that were just blank. And so in this book, your teachers will be able to go and all of those standards will be unwrapped and have content examples. But I want you to notice on the templates, we just focused on the level 3.0. We didn't bust it out like a full scale because we just wanted every teacher to know at a glance for good tier 1, here's what proficiency looks like, and here's how you would ask it. And then this is just a screenshot of the proficiency level descriptors that we included. How, you've seen those before. These are examples of the anchor charts. Oops, I don't need that at the end. But let me pause for a minute. Questions about the 4 core, because again, I assumed a lot of this would be clients on here, and I just wanted to make sure you knew the difference between the current tool you have and what this 4 core does. And really, it's right here in these supporting templates. So if we think about, let me make a better phrase question. First, just ask any questions about the 4 core and what I'm showing you here. So it's usually kind of confusing.
These are hard copy, right?
So great question. The book itself, I'm going to slip up here. We do have it. Here's what they're going to look like. We have one for each grade level. They are hard copy. However, I know that, especially Chillicothe, I know you're on here. You have our digital tools and our CMT tools. What we did is we went back. We have these digitally that we could link right into your CMTs. So does that make sense? So for our digital users, that's an upgrade we can do, is we could just add that. So because we put them, remember, for clients, let me go back here, they're embedded right in this tool, because the thought is when your teacher sees they're teaching it, they double click and either a scale or now a template could come up. So Olivia, they're technically digital and hard copy, but they're really only digital for our members who purchase that digitally. You're actually going to have access to that for every standard. But what we found is in practice, so from a systems perspective, we love digital because people coming in and out, it's always right there. They can't lose it. They can't write on it. And then from our standpoint, we're constantly updating that for you. When Science of Reading came out, we went and we added a bunch of those strategies in. When math released new item specifications, we updated that for you, which is the downfall of a book. Not that the book will change that much, but you know what I'm saying. Little things we can always fix. But in practice, we know that our teachers like the hard copy book. And so, yes, we put those for each grade level. So rather than it spanning that continuum, everything a first grade teacher needs to teach, and it's tabbed, they go to the ELA tab and say, here's your standards, here's what proficiency means in all of them. So I think one of the things you're going to see as clients is you're going to start seeing pop up 4 core trainings, or if some of you want to host them, where this is a great protocol when you have people coming in. Hey, our district already uses these tools. Welcome to your first year. Here's what grade level do you teach? Here's everything you need to know. We're going to train them over that half day, but they walk in with a book, and then you can show them your digital if you have it, but they're going to walk in and you're clearly prepared with everything they need for that grade level. Other thoughts or questions about how this compares to the old product, or any ideas or thoughts? Maybe you have other ideas I haven't shared about how you could maybe utilize that.
I mean, we're kind of new to all of this, so we haven't had any of the products yet besides just the RSP template. But we're looking at moving to to standards-based grading next year for 4th grade. Currently, we're K3. This might be super helpful. I really like that piece of showing, mastery. Where our teachers are struggling a little bit, understandably, with knowing how to change from one grading to the other. So I appreciate that.
Perfect. And Olivia, if you want, we have also kind of teased out and tried to develop a lot more explicit process for standards-based grading about the phases and exemplars. So if you're interested in that, that's something we could offer you. We could put you on a virtual call and kind of show you what we've developed, because all of this is to try to fast track that understanding of if you have these tools, you already have their grading rubrics and things like that available. You just have to teach them how to utilize it and get their assessments. It can expedite all of that. And so if you want to look at that, we could definitely show you those phases we've developed. Melissa,
that'd be great. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, no, I was going to tell Melissa I have guilt. When about 3 or 4 years ago, I worked with Sophie Chambers when you guys were going standards-based. I did not have those phases. It was a lot clunkier. You do not get a refund. But since then,
That's okay.
well, that's some of you in Putnam County, they're like, hey, you figured this all out now. Can we get a refund? I'm like, no, but I'm going to keep giving you good services. But we've got it a lot more lined out now. Did you have any questions about it, Melissa?
I don't have any questions. I think Sarah and Sue have done a wonderful job of explaining the new product.
Awesome. Well, and can I give a shout out to your district they have been so excited about the writing work that in combination with people from RPDC who've been the boots on the ground in there. So I just love how, and I'm so appreciative Northwest RPDC, how we've kind of partner together, which is always our dream, that they can come in and support instruction, but we're trying to give you the tools. So I hope you've been happy with that work too.
We have been very happy. We're just curious about how to move forward now with the groundwork that we've started.
Yep. We'll figure it out. All right, guys. Well, that's pretty much my call today. Is I just wanted to do a quick remind you of the why of these systems and how our hope is when you because we're getting ready to the end and you're already thinking about the beginning of next year, right? I know how this goes. We're starting to plan right now in our curriculum department. So a reminder that when you do new teacher trainings, or if you need our support, to remind them of these systems you have coming in, and that they have either them digitally or these new tools coming in to feel really equipped with it, so that we can get to the instructional methods and trainings like we've done in Chillicothe with writing. And your great RPDCs can come in and really be boots on the ground to help in the classrooms. But I hope this was a little bit helpful, and we're very excited about this and continuing the good work. So we just thank you guys for the hard work you do. And I'll go ahead and end the call here and see if there's any other